Hello, everyone, and welcome to my session of the Innovation in Interpreting Summit. I'm truly excited to be here with you to talk about how you can build an awesome glossary in no time flat. Now, this is going to be an interactive session, so I hope you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get started. Before we do that, please go ahead and download the worksheet, which you'll find below this video, because there are some interactive activities in there. And at various times throughout this presentation, this little talk, I'll ask you to pause the video and try one of the exercises. And then we'll come back together and continue learning about how you can build an awesome glossary in the blink of an eye. All right, but before we dive in, let me just tell you who I am. If you don't know who I am, my name is Josh Goldsmith. I am one of the co-founders of Tech Forward and one of your hosts for the Innovation in Interpreting Summit. I am a total tech geek based in Geneva, where I work as a conference interpreter and trainer, and also do a bit of research. I've done some research on glossaries, but that's not the point of today's talk. Instead, what we're going to be doing today is talking about terminology and concretely how to quickly build a glossary. Right, so before we do that, let's start by thinking about the benefits of preparation. I think that there are a lot of reasons that preparing to build building a glossary can be really helpful, because when you are in a bind, when you're interpreting, when there's not much time to think, if you already have that term in your glossary, then it's very easy to pull up. And there's another presentation coming up tomorrow in the summit where you can learn more about how to quickly access terms from your glossary while you're interpreting. But today is all about building your glossary. So having that glossary will help you to be more confident, more professional, to reduce cognitive load, which makes it easier to get those terms right while you're interpreting and makes your clients happy, which, after all, is a great thing. I am a big glossary user. I think it's very rare to see me in the booth without one open. And over the years, I've built hundreds of glossaries, I think, and tried out dozens of different tools. And what we're going to do in today's session is tell you about just a couple of my favorites for quickly building a glossary when you don't have all that much time. Now, when exactly might that be the case? Because if you're lucky, well, you'll probably know about your assignment, who knows, maybe even a week in advance, and get preparatory documents, and you'll be able to read them in advance. And I think that that's great. It can help you to really know the ins and outs of the topic. And then, of course, you might continue to do more research going beyond what you've received from your clients. However, if you're like me, and probably like most of you, I often get the documents at the very last minute, especially when I'm working for institutional clients. I can sometimes get them an hour beforehand, half an hour beforehand. If I'm working at the European Parliament, I can be assigned to a meeting at the last minute. So in those cases, what do I do? Well, what we're going to do today is look at some tricks for quickly pulling together some terminology at the last minute, if you're assigned at the last minute, or if your document is just too lengthy to be able to read in the time that you have available. Before we dive in, first exercise. So my question for you is, you're in a meeting, you're assigned at the last minute, you're given documents at the very last second. What do you do to try to prepare? There are different strategies out there. Take a minute, pause this video, and fill in the worksheet and let me know what you might try to do when you've got 10 minutes, we'll say, to quickly go through a document that's 25 pages long. All right, see you in a second. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that first brainstorming exercise. It's going to get even more fun and even more hands-on as we move right along. So I want this to be realistic. I want this to be like something that you might actually come across in an assignment. So here's what we're going to do. Imagine we are at a conference. It's a mock conference, and this is a conference on the topic of women's rights 25 years after Beijing. Now, I picked that topic because it was recently on the agenda for the plenary of the European Parliament, but it's also been discussed at the United Nations recently. So there are a lot of documents out there in many different languages which you can use for the exercise, imagining that those are the preparatory documents you're given at the last second. Now, some of you might have done an exercise like this with us before at the TERP Summit last month when we covered mind mapping, outlining, annotation. But today, it's completely different. Today, we're only going to have one tool that overlaps, which is Sketch Engine, but I'll also be telling you about two others, Interpret Bank and Jeremy. So, in your worksheet, you've got some documents that you'll be able to work with, and let's dive in. First way to quickly build a glossary. For this one, you don't even need a document. All you need is a keyword. For this, we're going to use a tool called Interpret Bank. I think many of you may have heard of it before. It's a tool that runs on both Mac and PC, and it also has a web-based feature, but this particular feature we're talking about now will run on the Mac or the PC version. And this feature is called Automatic Glossary Generation. Now, if you want to try this out, you can download a free trial of Interpret Bank. There's a free 14-day trial. So you can download it and try this with me. What are we going to do? We're simply going to open the Automatic Glossary Generation tool, pull that up, and type in a single term, and then see what it generates for us. And as we do this, we can even tick the box that says translate terms when inserting into glossary, and boom, we will end up with our terms in two languages. So let me show you just what this looks like. So let's create a glossary using just a single word as a prompt. To do so, go to Cloud, collect terms about a topic. Type in your single word, in my case, a short phrase, and select the language from the list of languages that you've configured in advance. Then click Collect Terminology. You can see that this has found some 800 terms here, and if I want, I could select the ones that I want and the ones that I don't want. I'll take out these names, for example, and then I can even click Translate Terms when inserting in glossary, and that will automatically translate them, but I'm just going to not do that for now. Pretty cool, right? All right, so now it's almost your turn to try this out, but before we get there, I want to tell you about one other feature that Interpret Bank offers, which is the ability to take that list of terms you've generated based on a single keyword and to go through them one by one. And using the translation suggestions feature, you can find a potential translation for each of the terms. So instead of doing the automatically translate, taking advantage of the automatic translation option, this one will have a little bit more human control. We're going to look at a list of different terms available and pick out the one that looks best. So let's take a look at what that looks like. After we finish this demo, it's your turn to try it out. You can try either of the things I've just told you about. But what I'd recommend is trying to auto-generate a glossary using a single term. Now, in order to do that, you'll have to set up a glossary. I've put a link for how you can do that in the worksheet, so you can figure out how to quickly set up a glossary and then try this auto-generation. And of course, if you don't have Interpret Bank, no worries, you've still seen this cool possibility. All right, let's dive into our demo. Now I have a short list of terms that Interpret Bank automatically generated for us in the first step, and I'm going to use the Translation Suggestions feature to see what potential translations it comes up with. So I'll just use a shortcut to launch Translation Suggestions. It says it's searching for a term, and then there we go, I have several. I pick the one I want and hit Enter to add it to my glossary. Next up, autonomy. does the same thing, searches for a translation, and then I can select it. You can see this time around, no translation was found. How about the Beijing Declaration? There it is. Hit enter, and I've added it to my glossary. It's also possible to auto-translate your entire glossary. To do so, you go to Cloud, Translate Entire Glossary, and it will automatically pull up potential translations of the words in your glossary and add them for you, which is what it's doing right now. Then it asks you to revise the translations, and here we go. Not bad. A few things that need tweaking, but still a very solid, very fast way of putting together a quick glossary. All right, welcome back. So we've seen a few different things that you can do using Interpret Bank. Pretty cool, right? One thing that you may have noticed is that the number of potential terms was a little bit limited when you were using that translation suggestions feature. So now I'd like to tell you about another tool, which is very cool, which can allow you to find terms and see a little bit more context so you can make sure you're getting exactly the right translation. This tool is called Jeremy. Jeremy is a tool that works with one of my absolute favorite terminology databases, and now you know I'm a total terminology geek when I have a favorite terminology database, but one of my favorites is called IATE, I-A-T-E. This is the European Union's terminology database. It's got hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of terms in there, and across all of the languages of the EU. It's really a great tool. There's a lot of information in there. But actually for interpreters, especially if you're trying to build a glossary quickly, the problem is that there's too much information in there. We can type a term and see 20 different hits in 20 different fields, and also copying and pasting from IATE isn't all that easy. The good news is that you can see various languages, of course, and search across various languages, but it's not really made for the booth or for last-minute preparation. So I'd like to tell you about a tool that will help you with this. It's Jeremy. It will take that information, that keyword, that information in IATE and turns it into an easily searchable format. And it also draws on another database. We won't talk about it much, but it's called the Eurlex database, which is kind of like Lingue, for those of you who know it. Basically, it's a bilingual corpus, so there are terms in one language and terms in the other language, and that is all translation done by professionals. So let's take a look at this demo and see what it actually looks like. And after I show you, it's time to hit pause and do the next exercise on the worksheet, which is trying out Jeremy. And Jeremy has a free 30-day trial, so you can check it out there. Welcome back. 2 tools down, 1 to go. So we've looked at Interpret Bank for automatic glossary generation. We've looked at Jeremy for quickly finding equivalents in a very good term base. And now I'd like to tell you about a third tool. This tool is called Sketch Engine, and more concretely, we're going to be using the one-click terms feature in Sketch Engine. Now, how does it work? It's pretty simple. You'll see in just a minute that what you do is you upload a document, and then you select the language, and then you tell Sketch Engine to extract terms. And what will it do? Well, it will extract the terms in single word terms and multi-word terms from the document that you've uploaded. Now, it does this using all sorts of complicated statistical and linguistic approaches, which we won't get into right now, but basically it just wants to see which words are in there more than you would expect. And when it finds them, it puts them on the screen for you. And you can also download those to a CSV file and then use that as a starting point for a glossary. So what we're going to see right now is monolingual, using a single document provided by our client, perhaps at the very last minute. We upload it, we tell Sketch Engine to pull out the terms, and then it does so. So let's see my example, and then afterwards, over to you to try it out. So we upload our file, pick the language, and then click Extract Terminology. And here they are. We can see that some single word terms like gender-based, intersectional, feminization pop up much more than expected, so they're likely to come up in our conference. And the same applies to multi-word terms, gender-based violence, gender equality, gender pay gap. And if we want to actually see these in context, we can click on this number, and it will generate right here the collocation, so we can see how the word is used. All right, so that was our third and final tip for quickly building an awesome glossary. We've seen how to use InterpretBank to generate a glossary from a single word and even automatically translate it if we want. We've seen how to use Jeremy to take a list of terms in a single language and quickly find equivalents in the other language. And finally, we have seen how to use Sketch Engine to pull the terms out of a reference document you've been given, or multiple reference documents you've been given right at the last minute. So those are my 3 tips for using tools to build an awesome glossary. What I'd like you to do now is do the last exercise on the worksheet, which just asks you to reflect on which of these tools you think is most useful, when, and how you would use it. Okay, so that was our final exercise as part of this whirlwind tour of different tools that will help you to quickly build a glossary. Before we go, I want to tell you about a few things. First of all 3 of the tools that I talked about today are pretty great, and we think that their creators are pretty great too, because they have been very generous and contributed, in some cases, discounts, in other cases, licenses to our prize draw coming up in the Power Pack on the last day of this summit. So if you're interested in getting a shot at winning one of 2 free Jeremy licenses, one of 5 Sketch Engine annual licenses, or a free license to InterpretBank, if you're in the Power Pack, you've already got it. If not, you can pick up the Power Pack to have a shot at winning those. There's a link below this video. Alrighty, one other thing I wanted to tell you. Today, obviously, was just a sampler of what you can do with terminology. There's tons more. We go into this in lots more detail in our Glossaries for Interpreters 2.0 course. It is the very first long course that I built for Tech Forward. I'm very proud of it. It'll take you on a tour of various tools for terminology management, terminology extraction, teach you how to actually use these tools in the booth, and tons more. And we are running a special offer for all Summit participants. You can take 20% off of this course, or actually off of any Tech Forward course or manual, using the discount code that you'll find in our virtual booth. So if this sounds like something you want to explore more, I'd love to see you there. If you're already in the Glossaries for Interpreters 2.0 course, awesome, great to see you here again. And I will wrap up on that note. There is so much more to learn in the summit, and I wish you every success. See you around.